Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I know that it's been a good amount of time since I've recorded a video. So in 2021, once I started working, I didn't really find the time to record videos, to edit them, to put them together. But since then, I've noticed something. There's been constant engagement on my videos and on my channel. I've seen the view count go up. I've seen people reach out to me asking me when am I making my next video. And that really makes me very happy. It makes me realize that there are people out there who actually want to get better at guesstimates, who are looking for resources and stumbled upon my channel and are actually looking forward for more content from my end, which is why I want to give this another shot. So let's see where this goes, and we'll start with the video today. Oh yes, of course, if you are new to this channel, I make videos about guesstimates, about case studies, everything related to getting placed in either a business role or a finance role or even a product role. Guesstimates and case studies are interview questions that are asked across all of these roles. And if you've watched my videos before, of course, I don't need to tell you what this channel is about, but thank you in any case for joining back in. Now, the first video that I want to start with for my comeback is going to be the top 5 things that I recommend that you take care of, that you put special focus on when you're preparing for your guesstimate interviews, as well as when you're inside the guesstimate interview environment. Again, there's a huge list of things that you can otherwise take a look at, but these are my top 5 recommendations for you. So the first tip is to think outside the box. Now you'd be like, well, of course, I mean, thinking outside the box is something that all of us should be doing, but how does it apply to guesstimates? Thinking outside the box really helps engage your interviewer with you in the conversation. Again, it's up to you to engage the interviewer into the conversation. For them, you might just be another one of the candidates that they're interviewing that day. So this is something that you can do that they can remember you by. Let's take an example. Let's say you're asked to estimate the number of pizzas sold by one of the large pizza chains in a single day. Something that I can think of that would be a decent example of thinking outside the box would be to ask, is this a normal everyday kind of day, or is it a special day, maybe like a cricket match? You can see how this would be an important factor when thinking about pizza sales in a given day, because if it's, let's say, the finals of the ICC tournament being hosted in India, I'm assuming that the pizza sales on that day would be higher than any other given day because people are working from home, they either have taken a holiday, they just want to watch the match, they want to order in something, they have a bunch of friends that are probably at their homes. So it's basically a joyous day and everyone just wants to have a good time. So I'm assuming that restaurant sales in general would be higher, and then from that point you can figure out how many pizzas were sold. There's a caveat to this. You should not make your thinking outside the box complicated. That will lead us to a completely different path and your interviewer actually might even lose interest. The second is always take a moment to think about the things that you're going to talk about. There is no point delving into the depth of a guesstimate without fully understanding what the question is. I myself have been in situations, and people that I've spoken to who also prepared with me, as well as people that have watched the videos, have told me that oftentimes they get into situations where they tried to solve the guesstimate from the get-go as soon as the question was given to them. But unfortunately, because they did not really truly understand what the question was, they arrived at a conclusion which was quite far off from what the initial question is. Now you can have an interviewer which will ask you to pause, take a moment to think about what you're doing, and maybe recalibrate. But maybe they'll not do that. In a high-stakes environment, if you choose to do that and if you arrive at a conclusion which is very far off from what the initial expectation was, I think it's pretty clear that you would not get selected. So always take a moment to gather your thoughts, think about what you're going to ask the interviewer, think about the structure, like a very basic structure at the start of it, and then start going into it. I've recommended this in one of my previous videos, but it's a very good idea to take that pause, tell the interviewer that you are going to take a pause to just jot down all of your thoughts and then get into it. The third is to use approximations and make smart assumptions. What this means is that when you start breaking down the math behind the logic that you've given, oftentimes we get into complicated calculations which will confuse you, And once you do that, you kind of show to the interviewer that you're not very adept with math. So why not completely avoid that situation by simplifying math for your own good? Why do you need to do a 35-65 distribution between urban and rural populations if it can just be 30-70 or 40-60, depending on whichever works for you and the interviewer? When you're at a stage where you're multiplying something like 1.07 with 365, just make it 1 into 365 if you think that it's not going to affect your answer too much. Now talk to your interviewer about these rounding downs or rounding ups that you're going to do, because they should be on the same page. But as much as possible, do those round ups, do those round downs to make sure that your calculation is easier so that you don't get confused while you're going through your answer. It also proves to the interviewer that you are able to discard information where it is not required and take in specific information where it might be required. So yeah, pretty useful skill. Make sure that you follow that. The next one is practice with a friend as soon as possible. I know you watch videos, I know you read books, I know you practice on your own, but none of that is going to really make a difference to your interview until you practice with a friend. So I would say, give yourself a timeline when you're going to go through all the theory that exists on Guesstimates, on the internet, on YouTube, Shubham's channel. Maybe that timeline could be a week. Definitely don't make it more than 10 days. And once that time period is over, make sure you sit down with a friend, ask them to ask you a guesstimate question in an interview format, and take feedback from them. Only once you go through this process, you'll actually have the confidence to face an actual interviewer in the interview setting. So don't spend too much time learning about guesstimates. Make sure you go ahead and actually practice guesstimates. Now this is where I can come in as well. Down in the description, you'll find a link where you can get in touch with me, and together we'll go over a guesstimate. I'll give you the question. We'll go through the entire thing together in an interview format, and there'll be real-time feedback at the end. All of this, by the way, for just the price of a single coffee. So I implore you to go ahead and check out the link in the description. Now, the last and the most important tip that I have for you, and this is something I've covered previously as well, is that you should have a fallback approach. Let's say you get asked something that you have no idea about, and even after taking some time to think about it, taking some time to think about something out of the box, you are just not able to arrive at a structured approach for your guesstimate. In this kind of a scenario, you should have a fallback approach which will come in and help you at this point of time. All this means is that you have a predetermined, set, structured approach for both a demand side and a supply side guesstimate. What are demand side and supply side guesstimates? This is something I've covered in the Guesstimate Masterclass. The link is in the description, so go ahead and check that out. But just make sure that you have a fallback approach for both the supply side and the demand side of the guesstimate. I have the demand side approach that I used during my interview process, documented on one of the videos I did previously, and I'll tell you what the fallback supply side approach I used to have in one of the upcoming videos. I recently went through the interview process yet again, because I switched jobs, and I was asked to think about another approach for the guesstimate that I did. Now, my first approach was pretty good, but I was stumped when I was asked for a second approach for the guesstimate that was given to me. And this is where I was able to use my fallback approach, and voila, it went well. I did get the offer. And that's a wrap. We're at the end of the video. Do let me know how you like this video down in the comments below, if you found this helpful, if you actually came across your guesstimate rounds where this was useful to you. Again, do check out the link in the description where you can actually get in touch with me and we can go through a guesstimate together. Do like this video if you liked it, and please subscribe to my channel. It really means a lot to me. There's going to be more content upcoming in the near future, and I hope that you stick around, watch those videos, study on your own, get in touch with friends or with me to practice guesstimates, and finally ace your guesstimate interview. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, bye-bye.